My name's Sarah, and this is Assessment 3, Presentation of a Real-World Dataset. So a bit of background. Midwives and other maternity care providers implement a number of different methods to monitor fetal well-being during labour and birth. This may be through the use of intermittent auscultation or by methods of continuous electronic fetal monitoring. The most widely used form of continuous electronic fetal monitoring is the cardiotocograph, CTG. Traditionally, where CTG is in use, labouring women experience a lack of freedom of mobility and positioning in labour and birth due to the need to be tethered to a machine by wiring. It is well documented in the literature that freedom of movement and positioning in labour and birth is linked to lower likelihood of caesarean section, shorter length of labour, fewer epidurals, and an increased sense of choice and control for the labouring woman. In fact, where women experience a sense of choice and control during labour and birth, they often report increased feelings of satisfaction and improved postnatal emotional well-being. More specifically, in Australia, women with a high BMI are more significantly impacted by the use of CTG monitoring in labour and birth. For women with a BMI greater than 40 or a BMI greater than 30 in comorbidities, continuous CTG is routinely used and recommended by governing bodies such as RANZCOG and New South Wales Health. Further, use of more invasive methods, such as the fetal scalp electrode, is often preferred for this population of women due to the ability to more accurately monitor the fetal heart rate. In response to this, there is a growing body of evidence to suggest that emerging forms of fetal heart rate monitoring technology may be appropriate for clinical use, particularly for women with a high BMI. Such technology, referred to as the non-invasive fetal electrocardiogram or NIF-ECG, has been trialled in authentic clinical settings and shown promising results to improve women's freedom of mobility and positioning in labour and birth. So based on this context, my research question is, in women with increased BMI, does a new continuous fetal monitoring device compared with standard care, CTG, improve intrapartum sense of choice and control? The aim of this study is to compare the impact of the cardiotocograph, or CTG, and non-invasive fetal electrocardiogram, NIF-ECG, in a population of women with BMI greater than 35 and their feelings of choice and control during labour and birth. So this study is a secondary analysis of data collected from a multi-centre randomised control trial. The study will be conducted over 3 sites in Australia, the first being Wollongong Hospital in New South Wales, Box Hill Hospital in Victoria, and Mount Isa Hospital in Queensland. Using a non-probability sampling strategy, 354 pregnant women with a BMI of 35 and above and who meet inclusion criteria will be purposively selected for the study over 12 months. They will be randomised to either standard care or intervention. So maternal sense of choice and control will be measured through the administration of a previously developed questionnaire known as the Labour Agency Scale. All women who participate will be invited to complete the Labour Agency Scale at 2 to 8 weeks postpartum. The Labour Agency Scale is a validated tool devised by Hodnett and Simmons Tropea in 1987. It is a Likert scale ultimately used to measure women's sense of control during labour and birth. Comprising 76 item statements, under each of which there is a 7-step scale, women mark the spot which most accurately describes their experience. The statements are a combination of both positive and negative descriptions of intrapartum control. A higher score is associated with greater feelings of choice and control during labour and birth. The LAS has undergone extensive psychometric testing, such as factor analysis, dual scaling, and field studies in order to ensure its validity and reliability. Use of this tool in previous studies has allowed for the prediction of postnatal maternal well-being. In fact, where the LAS has been administered previously, women who scored low and felt a limited sense of choice and control experienced increased instances of postnatal depression, delayed establishment of breastfeeding, reduced mother-infant bonding, and low levels of satisfaction with the childbirth experience. This study hypothesizes that women assigned to the NIF-ECG group will score higher on the LAS, indicating increased levels of intrapartum choice and control. So therefore, through the use of a previously developed instrument, my research will implement quantitative data collection and analysis techniques. The data provided by the LAS will be collected and managed using Research Electronic Data Capture, REDCap. REDCap is a secure web-based application commonly used at UTS and New South Wales Health. The two main variables to be analysed are the type of fetal heart rate monitoring device, so the CTG or the NIF ECG, this is a categorical variable, and the maternal sense of choice and control, this is a continuous variable. Descriptive statistics and correlations among variables will be used for initial data analysis. In order to compare LAS scores among the groups, statistical tests such as two-tailed t-tests to compare the means will be used. Certainly, sample demographics will be considered when analysing the data in order to make appropriate conclusions. And statistical support from the team statistician will also be provided. Thank you for listening. Here's my references.